Gatekeeper Systems has started 2024 with a stunningly good Q1, $9.8 million of revenue. That is 101% year-over-year growth and $2.3 million net income in a record-breaking quarter. This stock has rewarded shareholders by being up 170% in the year, 622% in the past 5 years. Here joining me today is the CEO of Gatekeeper Systems, Mr. Doug Dyment, to talk about the current quarter, the current earnings, the future of this company, the potential growth, all kinds of information here. Little tidbits of information for you to hear about this company, the industry, and everything it can do in the future. Let's get started. I hope you enjoy. Doug, this is starting to be the new normal for this company, where quarter after quarter after quarter, investors are impressed with Gatekeeper's earnings. This is another quarter where we're looking at 101% growth over the year. So I have to ask some of the questions from my skeptics of Gatekeeper, people that have deep diving questions, looking at trying to measure the success of this company, because one of the problems with success and getting noticed is people want more information. There's always this request for more information. Give us more, give us more, give us more, give us more. So now that you're getting noticed, people want more. So this interview, I'd like to ask a couple questions to see if you can give people more. And the first question on my list is typically people look at this revenue and they say, okay, we want more information on the recurring revenue. We want more information on the platform as a service revenue. This is something we've been talking about for many quarters. I was wondering if you can speak to that at all.
Sure. Well, just on the topic of getting noticed, you're absolutely right. There's more analysts, there's institutions that are calling. So getting the word out has been, certainly been good. Most importantly, though, is we're performing, right? And so just to back up a moment, your investors will know, or our investors will know, that on January 4th, we put a news release out on the completion of a $9 million project at SEPTA, and we laid out how that revenue, how we felt the revenue was going to hit the income statements in the quarters. 3.47 was going to hit the Q1, and we felt like around 5 million would be delivered in Q2, and then the balance of about $500,000 would be delivered in Q3. So we put that news release out. That's just kind of a reminder, so investors can kind of get a feel for potentially what kind of momentum we have coming into Q2. As far as Q1, we also message at the end of the year, end of the fiscal year, what the back order was. So all investors, at the same time would have a pretty good idea as to potentially what was going on in the back order, which could significantly affect the, Q1, and it certainly did. I think that the thing that really surprised the market, though, was really our operating margin, right? We were able to show some significant bottom line profit. I think that's always been kind of a question that I get, when can this company get consistently profitable? That's not easy to do for a micro cap when you're investing in your technology, you're investing in your people, you're investing in the operations. Our team did an absolute bang on job of keeping the operating expenses, relatively flat, and then growing the revenue and keeping the margin up. And we just delivered. We delivered a really good quarter. And where we want to be, Cameron, moving forward, is we want that to kind of be the new norm. So as far as touching on what investors want to see, as far as the breakout in revenue in the buckets, I don't give a lot of guidance in that area, but I will say this. Gatekeeper has revenue coming from the train business, which is typically called the steel wheel. We've got revenue coming from the rubber tire, which is paratransit and big buses. Then we've got revenue coming from our school bus market, and a number of niches in there. And then I would expect relatively soon we're going to start to see some recurring revenue coming from our student protector program. It's one of the reasons we put Jason Harrison as vice president of the student protector program for the Stop Arm business. We got a lot of demos going out now, and I don't think it's going to be too long before we start to see some recurring revenue coming in there. The plan. I'll say it again, right? Our goal is to get as many of these mobile data collectors out there as possible. We're now over 50,000. We've turned on about 1,000 of these, or just a little over 1,000 in the last few months. So those are starting to deliver revenue for us, and we want to continue to do that moving forward. Now, we've had to expand the operations in order to get that done, in order to facilitate that growth. And we're launching a new data center in Philadelphia, and that's going to allow us to scale the recurring revenue. So you don't just turn these things on and at an incredible pace. You have to be able to build in and backfill the operations and the infrastructure in order to escalate and accelerate that growth by just by increasing the number of devices that are locked in. So we're about 2 weeks away from really being in a position to scale that business. And like I say, we've got about 1,000 of them on board. So you could imagine, I'll throw some, I get questions from investors. Hey, how do I value this company? What can I look for, in the future? So our goal, as I've said to you many times, and you get this, we want to get as many of these mobile data collectors out there as possible. What does that really mean? Well, in the K-12 market, we feel we have about 10% of that market, right? And there's roughly 500,000 yellow school buses in North America. There's anywhere from 25 to 50,000 of them that are manufactured every year. President Biden has a initiative to replace all buses with electric over the next 10 years. I don't know if they'll get there. That's quite a lofty goal. But it does represent a new palette of buses at a time when Gatekeeper's platform as a service business model has increased from $1,500 to $2,000 a bus on kind of average in some areas of the country, up to $6,000 to $8,000 a bus. So that's quite positive. But you could imagine, Cameron, if Gatekeeper could, and we're reinvesting our profits back into the business. More salespeople, we're putting more salespeople out there. We're just growing our business smartly. But you could imagine, as we grow our distribution model and we grow our sales, if we could maybe capture 25% of the market, if we could get that, now we're up to 100,000 mobile data collectors. And over a period of time, if we can start to turn those on at $30 per bus per month, you could see this company has the ability to, and I'm projecting forward, but this company has the ability to get to, in the neighborhood of 50 million in revenue on the recurring side. What type of multiple are we going to get on that portion of our revenue? That's how I look at things. And that's how we plan to, if we could get a 10 times multiple on that revenue, get credit for that in the capital markets, and then continue to grow the system sales and, get that to 70 or 100 million in revenue over the next several years. Now we're in a position, where the multiple on the system sales, maybe we get 2 or 3 times there, maybe a 10 times on the recurring revenue. Sometimes you see a higher multiple, all depends on what the gross margin is. I'm not going to talk about that, but it's significantly higher than 50% on our recurring revenue hosted service model. So I'm going to be hoping that the market gives us significant credit as a multiple on that recurring revenue as we grow it. But you can see that's how I want to grow the business out to this, to this $1 billion data company, or at least get it headed in that direction. So that's one way that the investors can look at, certainly tying, where the currency price might be, if certain things are happening. We're certainly delivering, and I'm seeing the trends that are giving me a lot of confidence that this business model that we've got is, it's not only working, but it's working quite well. And, so I'm confident that we're going to be that company that I envisioned several years ago and, in the coming years. So that's one way for our investors to kind of look at the future of Gatekeeper. And if they're trying to figure out what where the stock is going to be, like we all are, I just don't want to be a company that's growing the top line. We have to be able to be efficient in our operations and not, we don't want to blow apart this cap chart. That is not what I want to do. We do not want to dilute our stock. We want to keep this stock keep our cap chart, in the shape that it's in right now. And so the way you do that is you've got to throw money to the bottom line so you can reinvest it back into the business. And that's what we're doing. So we were able to show, 2.3 million in net profit in that Q1. And if we can continue that growth, it's not hard to project that, that we would be certainly, significantly north of that in the coming quarters. And now I think the market will start to, give us a multiple on earnings as well. So that may be one way to look at it, right? So I've already done my analysis on that, and so I've been on my soapbox telling investors that this company is, in my opinion, is significantly undervalued at where the stock price is today, given what's going on, in the operations of our business and how we're delivering, not just top line growth, but net profit to a significant level.
That's fantastic, Doug. Thank you. Yes, we've had these conversations before. You're getting there. This quarter is getting there. That's for sure. Like I said, it's definitely getting noticed. Now, if you don't mind me asking, because I don't believe we have spoken about this before, would you be willing to discuss a little bit how your business model changed, how you split up the school bus and the transit into separate divisions, and how that's working for the company right now?
Sure. I think that's a good point. Good question. Really, I seen it coming. It was only a matter of time. We used to have one vice president of sales that ran the school bus division and the transit division. And I think it's important for investors to understand that within the transit division alone, there's various verticals, and there's different technologies and different product requirements inside the verticals that are underneath the transit market. So, for instance, I don't know if your investors are aware, but the FRA has just passed a ruling that every light rail has to have a crash memory module, and a driver over operator camera installed by 2027. So Gatekeeper's work that we've done at SEPTA has given us the experience in the train business. We're putting a big focus on that. I believe that segment of the market could be in the neighborhood of 300 million in the U.S. alone. So that is just one piece of the train business. Then you've got the steel wheel. You've got the OEMs. Gatekeeper was spec'd in a deal, in a train deal that CRRC, which is the largest train manufacturer in the world, has won at SEPTA. We were spec'd there. We haven't started to deliver into that project yet, but it is coming. We were spec'd on another project that Alstom won. We haven't started delivering into that yet, but that's, we're working on that, working through that at the moment. And so we have an aggressive build out plan for steel wheel. So that's number one. Then you look at paratransit and the work that we're doing with all the OEMs because of the work with SEPTA and a few other agencies. And again, I've been saying this, I think it's only a matter of time before you see us in another tier one or, tier two large transit agency. I really do. We're introducing new technology. We've got a new texting app. We got AI built in where we're going to be able to determine if drivers are actually texting and then push those alarms back to our command center. We're offering that up as part of our hosted service. That's going to deliver more revenue. We're close to doing that. And then you got the rubber tire side of the transit market, and that has, like I say, significant opportunity for us. So, and then there's the automated lane enforcement side of things, which is a brand new segment of the market. And we haven't really even begun. We haven't won any contracts in there, but I'd like to think that we were number 2 in LA. That was a $10 million contract, and our technology is getting noticed. So I really believe it's only a matter of time as that market grows that we're going to start being successful, right? So that's a little bit of information on the transit market. And then you get into the K-12 side of things. We added Val Higgins as, we appointed her as Vice President of Sales for the school bus market, the K-12 side. And she's been with us for over 10 years, and she's driving that team hard. We got over 3,500 customers in that, that market. And like I say, most of the mobile data collectors are in that market. And I see, good recurring revenue, coming out of there. So we're building out that team. We have sales pretty much in every state, every province. We're connected to every OEM manufacturer, Thomas, Bluebird, IC, the electric buses, Lion, Green Power, all of them, right? So we can install at the factory or at the OEM dealers, and we're doing that. So we're well entrenched and a leader in that market, and we want to increase our market share. Then you look at the student protector business. Well, the student protector business is the stop arm camera side of things. And I don't know if I told you this story, but it was in 2018. I believe it was in Illinois. It was and we were, the reason this is such a strong memory is that we were launching our new 5 megapixel license plate reading camera system at the National School Bus Show. And that particular day, three kids, the sister and two brothers were killed by a stop arm violator, right? So it's just horrible. And all the kids in the family were killed. And it's such a dangerous situation. Last year, there was 46 million of these violations in the US. And I believe that as legislation passes in more and more states, that's going to turn into a potential $1 billion market. And we're there. So we're focused on a couple of states right now with Jason going to town there. And he's very busy. Our business model it's a little bit unique. I don't want to talk about it because I just don't want to in this form at this moment. But bottom line is that we're providing the end-to-end solution, and there is recurring revenue attached to it as service type revenue. So Cameron, we're still at early stages. We're still at the recurring revenue piece that carries the significant high margin just because it's more software related. It's really at the front end, and it's 1% or maybe even less of our revenue at the moment. But that is I see that changing as we move forward, and you can't change that unless you get your mobile data collectors out there, and the market turns to wireless, and that's what's happening, right? So as the market moves more and more towards wireless connectivity, and that's a trend that is happening. We've talked about it on previous shows. That's when you're going to start to see more and more of the mobile data collectors start to deliver the recurring revenue, each month. And our plan is to continue to widen that product line where we add more services. We add, like I say, texting. That's a huge problem. And there's other issues that we're looking at. There was a boy last week that we crawled underneath a school bus trying to get his football. He was killed. It's sad. And we wanted to develop AI, AI solutions and algorithms such as, and you're going to see us launching a product here shortly that allows our AI to detect when children or people are in blind spots in and around the buses. So we can send a signal to the bus driver. So when they don't see this happening, they know something's happening, right? They know that somebody's in a danger zone. And that's the power of AI to try to save lives. So we've got things going on in the development side. We're reinvesting in our product development, our engineering, our technology. And like I say, we're adding more salespeople. So it's these quarters that you were talking about, that are likely becoming the norm. I think you're going to see more and more of that.
You mentioned marketing, you mentioned the industry. There's no better person to ask than you about this, because this is common sense investing. Part of the reason that I chose Gatekeeper as one of the stocks to cover on this channel was the industry, right? Many times I choose an industry before I ever pick a stock or a company. I think this industry is going to do well. I think the future of this industry is nothing but gold and money and beautiful, easy marketing. And then here's this wonderful company within that industry that I really like. So let's cover it. Where's this industry going kind of short term, do you think? Is it easier to market? Are more people calling you for your services? Like, what should we expect as investors? I feel like that's one of the criticism is like, well, how come it isn't taking off yet? Despite all the success, people expect everything's going to explode like AI. But where is this industry in the next 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, I think that because I've been around the security industry and the K-12 and the transit for many years, and I've seen technology evolve, it allows me to make reads on what's coming, right? Let's not forget that a lot of these deals are government type deals, and government budgets they can be in most cases, once a year, right? So you've got So if you miss a budget cycle, you've missed that one opportunity. It's funny, things just take time. And in some cases, unfortunately, what has to happen is that children have to die. That's the most important, and that is so unfortunate. And what happens is that parents will drive that up to legislation and their government officials, and then the heat's on, right? So that will drive legislation faster. And the reason legislation has to be passed is because there's 500,000 of these yellow buses driving around North America, and every one of them has multiple stops. So, it's just impossible to police unless you have video enforcement passed at the state level, where, law enforcement can issue a citation using video as evidence. Otherwise, a police officer has to witness the event, and that's why it's impossible to police. So those sorts of things just take time. And but once it gets going, it's you can get some unstoppable momentum. Where's the market heading? I'm seeing. I think AI is going to be it's going to be an important piece to overall system solutions. I think that's why engineering companies like Gatekeeper that have engineering capability are going to be an advantage. One of the things I would like to say to your investors as well, or our investors, is that this is not a marketplace that is that competitors can come in very easily and just start from ground zero, right? So Gatekeeper's been around for a long time. We're young in heart and mind. We've got good innovation. We've got a good vision, and we've got a wonderful group that just works so hard every day, and they're executing. That's tough to compete against, right? There's a lot of moving pieces in this business, and so I think the drivers are going to be the platform as a service business model that we put in place, right? And decluttering the supply chain is driving, by the way, more dealers to us. Keep in mind that on the OEM side of things, you've got about 50 dealers in the U.S. alone, and Canada, usually between 50 and 56 when you look at the provinces and all the states from each OEM. So we've got more of those wanting to do business with us because we're driving more revenue per bus, and that's a benefit to the dealer. So I think that's something we're starting to see, where the distribution system is building, right, with more dealers coming on board, and then I see I see AI really being, like, for instance, I talked a little bit about being able to detect people in blind spots. I think that's going to be an interesting feature. Right, it's difficult not to buy that if you're a district, especially if you're just layering it onto a system that you already have, or the way Gatekeeper is structured is we're backwards compatible to every one of our competitors. We've found ways to replace existing technologies without having to replace the cameras, as an example. So we can save our customers money by simply going in, offering up features, integrating with the competitor's product. And then, and we do that with our engineering team and their capability, and that helps us to really start to turn over customers. One of the reasons you see, I think I talked to you about this at the end of last year, where we had 70 new counties come on board that represented only about, I think it was about $2 or $3 million in revenue, and then the bulk of the revenue came from over 300 customers buying. So we get the seeds. We get our hooks into our customers, and then we just keep on, with the repeat business from them. So, I really believe that 10, 20 years from now, we're still going to be school busing, right? Their yellow is still going to be around. So video technology, I've seen the first video system was put on a school bus in 1992, and you're talking to the guy that did it. Right. So I just think that the technology's changed, but student safety is just going to continue to be top priority for our customers. Right. So I'm talking about the K-12 market. It's the same thing in the transit market. right? That FRA ruling is a good example of how, certain niches, get developed. Being able to protect video during a train crash that's important, right? So that's driving, significant niche market right in our wheelhouse. And we couldn't be more excited about the potential at Gatekeeper. And it's a great time to be a shareholder. It really is.
Well, thanks for that, Doug. And let's close it up here. I think I've kept you on the line for long enough. Congratulations again. That's a strong Q1. That's a strong start to the quarter. If your Q2 is even close, that means that you're going to put in basically all of 2022's revenue for the whole year in the first 6 months of 2024. That's what you're on track for. So that's absolutely fantastic. And any closing words, anything you'd like to say before I shut this interview down?
I just think, again, I think we're undervalued here. And, of course, how many founders of businesses are not going to think they're undervalued, Cameron? I'm sure you could count those on maybe one finger, right? But I'm excited about 2024, right? Like we had a great quarter, a great quarter here. That's fantastic. That's just been a culmination of a lot of things in the past and working on our business model. And now all these revenue buckets are starting to hit, right? Some in larger ways than others, but it's very positive. And I really believe that 2024, our investors are going to be nicely, who knows what happens in the capital markets, right? But certainly from a performance standpoint, I'm excited about 2024.
Final last words. Thanks, Doug. Really appreciate your time from your shareholders and everybody else for answering the questions. Thank you again for coming on this channel.